How you doing? This is Sean McVeigh with Sean's Outdoor Adventures, and I want to welcome you to this compound bow review video. And in this one, I'm going to be going over the Elite lineup. That means I'm going over the Option 6, the Option 7, the Tempo, the Impulse 34, and the Impulse 31. And I want to give a very special thank you to Miller's Gun Shop. I mean, they put in so much work and effort to help me get this bow review put together for you. I mean, when you change the draw length on an Elite bow, you have to switch out the draw modules. And you have to put them in a bow press to get to some of the screws to do that. So they were pressing all these bows and doing all this work to get them set up for me so that I could do this review video for you. So a very special thanks to Miller's Gun Shop in Mill Hall, Pennsylvania. If you're ever traveling through the area, make sure you stop in and check them out. And I've had fans leave notes for me there, which is very fun and exciting. So if you ever do stop in, leave a little note, and next time I'm in there, I'll check it out. Now, if you didn't see the previous review videos that I've done, so we're talking about the Expedition review, the Hoyt, the Bowtech, Matthews Prime, I've reviewed all those bows already. So if you haven't seen those, one thing I've been doing this year to standardize my data is I've been measuring 3 feet 6 inches away from my chronograph and my decibel meter reading to get accurate readings from one place to the next. So all of the bows are shot from the same exact distance from these meters. And so I'm getting the speed of the bows. I'm shooting a 5 grain per pound arrow, 70 pound pull, 30-inch draw, so a 350 grain arrow. And I'm getting those decibel meter readings to put a number to. It's one thing to say this is a quiet bow or this bow is a little bit noisy. It's another thing to put a number to it. So that's what we're doing. We're taking decibel readings. I'm taking 3 shots with that 350 grain arrow so we can average them, both the noise and the speed. And then I'm shooting a 550 grain arrow so that you can see what that bow speed would be like if you like to shoot a very heavy arrow for hunting. For now, let's go ahead and jump into these bows and see what they do. So I'm going to get started with the Impulse 34. We'll do the Impulse, Tempo, and Option, both Option 6 and 7. This is the 34. I'm also going to do the Impulse 31-inch axle to axle as well. And I'm going to start off with a 5 grains per pound arrow. So the arrow itself weighs 350 grains. I'm shooting with no fletch at all because, as you can see, a lot of shops use whisker biscuits on a good number of their bows. And I didn't want to have any friction from the whisker biscuit throwing off the readings because we want to really compare, apples to apples, speed to speed. Again, I'm shooting all the bows at 30-inch draw, 70 pounds. 332 and 78.1. One thing I like about these bows is there's very little hand shock. Now, if you watch the series I did on the other bows, I hooked up a vibration meter, but the quality wasn't good enough, so I wasn't getting accurate readings. So I'm skipping that for today. But going into next year, I'd like to get a better vibration meter to test that. 331, 77.8. Now I'm going to shoot the 550 grain arrow. This is particularly heavy to simulate like someone who prefers to shoot a heavy hunting arrow. 270, 74.7. 269. 74.1. Last but not least, 270, 75.9. Now I'm going to shoot the Impulse 31. Same bow, just a shorter axle to axle. And I'm starting off with the 5 grains per pound arrow. This feels way too light. Yes, this is a 65-pound limb. Let me go see if they have this in a 70-pound limb. Folks, that right there is just an example of how much work that Miller's Gun Shop put into helping me make this video. I mean, they had bows pressed all over the place, switching out draw mods, just so I could do this. So while they're working on that bow, getting it set up for me in a 70-pound limb, let's go over and look at the Option 6. Now we're going to take a look at the new Option 6, and there's clearly some things different about this than their previous models. There is a roller system here for the cables, and what they're claiming is that your cables will never wear out using this system. It is a fixed system. It doesn't bend or flex in like some brands such as Bowtech and Hoyt. They have options or elements here that kind of bend in as the bow is being drawn, but this is a fixed setting here. So let's go ahead and shoot this bow. I'm going to start off with the 5 grain per pound arrow. Solid back wall, doesn't move. I was easing up with my arm to see if I could get it to come forward, and that's why it snapped so much, because I had to let up so much. The point is, it stays on the back wall really well. 336 and 77. 337, 79.6, 337, 78 points. And again, just as with the other models I've shot so far, the bow stays in your hand nice and calm. It's really nice when the bow goes off. Another thing that I noticed that's new with this particular model is you finally see Elite doing a split limb on one of their bows. In the past they've used solid limbs. And I've always been curious, I haven't done much tuning on these, but with cam lean, with the solid limb, I would think it would help a little bit to prevent or keep it from having lean. But without having yoke systems, when you do get any kind of cam lean, it's a lot harder to deal with probably. There's a faint bit of cam lean with the bottom cam, and I guess with the top, but I don't think it would have any impact on the overall accuracy. I just want to interject that all of the Elite bows have a perfectly solid back wall. I give them all a 10 out of 10 rating. And for how easy the bow comes off of the back wall, I give them, all the ones that I shot at Miller's Gun Shop, I give them all a 9 out of 10 rating, because you have to really relax those muscles in your shoulder and everything for that bow to come down. Now I'll shoot the 550 grain arrow. Again, this is the Option 6. .275, 74.5, 274, 75, and last but not least, 274, 74.3. Alright, now we are moving on to the Option 7. 7-inch brace height. I measured its hair over 7 1/8. Solid back wall, and stays on the back wall really well, as you expect with these Elites. .329, 77.7. Another really smooth bow, stays in your hand real nice, and it's a good product. .330, 76.5. These Elites have a very smooth draw cycle as well. I like that. I like a bow that everything is smooth with the whole process. .328, 79.5. All right, let's go try this with the 550 grain arrow. .268, 73 point. 270, 75.8. 269, 74.6. Again, there is a little tiny bit of cam lean on both cams, but what I found is, as long as the cam lean matches the bottom and the top cam, it doesn't impact the effectiveness of a bow. In fact, some brands, you tune them to have a little bit of cam lean. So, I kind of did wonder if there was going to be a little bit, because ultimately you have the cables on one side pulling, and that's going to pull the cams a little bit. It's just an observation. I don't think it would necessarily have a negative impact on the accuracy of the bow in the grand scheme of things, because you can tune a bow using the rest to help get everything centered out. Alright, now I'm going to shoot the tempo, which is a 34-inch axle to axle bow. Looks like the knock point's a little low on this one. Hopefully it doesn't impact our readings. Just like the other Elites, it stays on the back wall real well, and it's a solid back wall. It has the new roller guides for the cables, and the draw cycle feels a little different with this one compared to some of the others. It's a little bit steeper right at the end of the draw cycle, right there. Stuff going on. Actually, you know what? This one is, I think this is the wrong draw model, because this is, I'm a 31-inch draw, and that's perfect for me. So I think this one is set at 31-inch draw, which can make the whole thing feel a little different. Alright, now I'm going to shoot the 550 grain. Yeah, that's definitely a 31-inch draw right there. 271. So in comparing this to the others, I would expect it to be a little slower at a 30-inch draw, which is where we did the other ones. 271. 34. 271, 73. And back with the Impulse 31. So it stays on that wall. 330, 77.1. 331, 78.1, 269, 71.3, 269, 76. 269, 74.0. Well, I really enjoyed shooting these bows here today. I think Elite is just, it's a nice shooting bow, and I've known that for years now. It's smooth all the way around. Solid back wall, stays on the back wall real well. And their new bows for this year are continuing that. Even with the changes, this is their older style with the cable guard, but with the rollers that they have now and the split limbs, they're still a really smooth, nice shooting bow. I almost think you can't go wrong with a brand like that. And shooting these today, it makes it hard. You know, when I think of all the brands I've shot so far this year, it's hard to say, you know, I like, this is my favorite bow type of a thing. There's a lot of nice ones, so I'm just going to have to go back and look at all the data and you know, take a look. I will say too, out of the ones I shot today, out of the numbers that were produced, the tempo was a little bit longer draw length than the rest. It was set at 31, and I didn't want to bother them by asking them to move it to 30 because they already had to switch out all the mods and all these bows just to get them at 30, and that one we had to, you know, do some extra swapping, so they were doing it twice already. So anyway, I just was like, you know what, I'll just shoot it at the 31. Just out of data, you know, and as you consider all these different bows, the numbers we got would be a little bit less compared to the other bows in the line today. But if you're an elite shooter, or if you are interested in trying them out, you know, try to go to a pro shop and try them all out. I think they all have a very similar feel though, and you know, if you like that feel, you just pick out which one in the lineup you like that fits you the best as far as axle to axle length, brace height, you know, the overall speed that it's producing. Typically your shorter brace heights will produce a little more speed because you have an extra inch that the, well, if it's 6 compared to 7, you have an extra inch that the string is acting on the arrow. Generally speaking, the longer axle to axles were always believed to be a little more stable, you know, for the aiming process, or a little bit more forgiving in that regard. So, you know, just those are the details that you kind of take into consideration when you're trying these out, and then you pick the one that suits you the best. So again, special thanks to all the work that they did here for me today at Miller's Gun Shop to set these up for me to shoot, and thank you for tuning in.
Wait a second, I can't close this video out. Let's go over all the data that I acquired while I was there, all the speeds, checking them versus what the manufacturer advertises them at and everything like that. So let's start with the Option 6. That's one of their, you know, new flagship bows for this year with that new roller guide system for the cables and everything like that. The speed of that bow came in at 337 feet per second for me, compared to the 342 feet per second that it's advertised at. And that's pretty good. I mean, even when I think back to the Hoyt Defiant lineup, the Hoyt Defiant Turbo, actually now that I'm sitting, let me look at I got all my sheets over here. Let me look that one up. So the Hoyt Defiant Turbo came in at 336 feet per second. So the Option 6 was 1 feet per second faster than the Turbo, and the Option 6 has a smoother draw cycle and everything. So just as a comparison, I know in the past people have talked about elites and elites are slow and things like that. I mean, people used to say that all the time, but hey, that Option 6 is pumping out some speed. So 337 for my results, 342 for their advertised. Over here for the noise, the decibel reading was 78.4 decibels for the 5 grain per pound arrow. And again, all the ratings for the back walls was 10 out of 10 for how solid it was, and 9 out of 10 for how easy it came off of the back wall. Let's look at the Option 7. That clocked in at 329 feet per second compared to their 332 feet per second. So that's pretty close right there. Both of those actually bows, my speed ratings came in pretty close to where theirs were. And if you look at the brace height, mine measured in at 7 1/8 inch for the brace height, and they provide a 7 plus or minus 0.125. So if you were on the minus side of that, you're going to actually have a faster bow than if you're on the plus side of that. And I was on the plus side of that, because every little bit that string is acting on the arrow, it's going to be providing speed. Like if you look at the Option 6 next to the Option 7, you're gaining an inch of distance that string is working on the arrow. And just in that 1 inch, we went from 337 feet per second down to 329. So an 8 foot per second difference. And that's what I was seeing. Same thing when I was shooting the Expedition bows. There was an 8 foot per second difference between their number 6 and number 7. So for the Option 7, the decibel, the noise reading was 77.9. And again, that's a little quieter because there's not as much force on that string for as long as a period of time. Let's look at the tempo. Now, I recognized this while I was shooting it, that it was actually accidentally set at 31-inch draw instead of a 30. And they had done so much work for me already and already swapped out that module one time that I didn't want to make them do it again. So at a 31-inch draw, 70 pounds, it clocked in at 333 feet per second. I would say let's take 8 feet per second off of that, and that's going to put us down closer to actually right about where they have the advertised speed at 325. So that one's kind of right on the mark where they have it advertised. For the noise, it was 78 decibels, and again, 10 out of 10 and 9 out of 10 for the back wall ratings. The Impulse 34 clocked in at 331 feet per second compared to their 337, and the noise was 77.2. For the Impulse 31, 330 feet per second compared to their 340, and 77.5 decibels. The price of these bows is right around the $1,000 mark. I went on to Lancaster Archery's website to check the prices. Some were coming in at $1,199, some were listed at $999, so it's going to be in that ballpark for the price. And I got to tell you, going into this review with the Elites, I kind of had my mind set on what bows I thought were the best already, and Elite made it hard for me. I mean, it's a quality bow. It's a good bow. And so in my final video coming up, I'm going to be going over the bows that I like the best. I'm going to tell you which one I think is the best bow, in my opinion, based on the numbers that I had acquired and some of the things I pointed out. And again, though, there's an element of my personal taste in there. So it's hard to be completely 100% objective, because there's different variables. If you're going just on speed, I can tell you what's the fastest bow I shot this year. If you're going on what's the quietest bow, well, I can tell you that. But then, so there's an element of what I liked in there, but I'm gonna tell you what I like the best, what I would buy based on everything that I acquired this year in the compound bow reviews. And as I record this right now, I'm still looking into trying to incorporate a few more bows. I'm waiting to hear back from some manufacturers as well as some distributors, just to see if I can get these bows in the lineup. But if not, the next video after this is going to be the summary of all the bows I've shot so far. So I hope you'll stay tuned for that or whatever other videos I get a chance to put together. Until then, take care and God bless. Oh, and another special thanks to Miller's Gun Shop. God bless.